Yeah. So, Stargirl was another DC Comics TV series that I wanted to watch last year, but for some reason I never seemed to find it. I mean, when the series was done, when I tried looking it up online or tried looking for a DVD on Amazon or like, it would always say it wasn't available in my region. Which I thought was a little bit of a shame. I managed to get bits and pieces of it, and it looked like a good show. For a while, I just couldn't find it. Well, I finally managed to get the DVD of it this year, watched it through, and I gotta say, I kind of love it. I mean, once again, it feels very much like a comic book has just kind of leaped off the pages on the screen to you, and I feel it really, really works. So, what's the plot? You've got Courtney Whitmore, a young 15-year-old girl, and her and her family have just moved from LA to Blue Valley in Nebraska. Her family being her mother, Barbara, played by Amy Smart, her stepfather, Pat Dugan, played by Luke Wilson, and her stepbrother, Mike, played by Trey Romano. Now, everything seems to run pretty much as these kind of high school dramas go. They move from one place to another. She starts high school, makes a few friends, also runs afoul of the local bully and popular girl, Cindy Berman, played by Meg DeLacy, and everything seems par for the course. That is until she manages to find a mysterious crate in her basement, and this crate contains a staff that seems to react fondly to Courtney, and they even start to form a friendship and will also become a superhero. And it's eventually revealed to her that the staff used to belong to a superhero called Starman, and her stepfather, Pat Dugan, he used to be the sidekick to Starman known as Stripesy, although he has now built a giant robot and he is eventually referred to as Stripe. He used to be a superhero and now Courtney is becoming one. Although Pat was determined that they had moved to Blue Valley in order to get away from all that, he eventually agrees to train uh, Courtney and they eventually form a team. But also, he tells her more about an old superhero team called the Justice Society of America, who were killed by the Injustice Society of America several years ago. It also shows her a load of old stuff, which Courtney decides that she needs to take some of the stuff and ultimately form a new JSA because the Injustice Society are back in town and they've got plans. You got a great cast for this. I mean, Brett Bassinger plays Courtney Whitmore, and she's just perfect for the role. I mean, apparently this was written based on one of the authors, a friend of his daughter who sadly passed away, and her kind of endless optimism, and she just exudes that in every possible moment. We've also got a great follow-up cast with this, with the members she chooses for the new Justice Society. And we've got a new Wildcat named Yolanda Montez, played by Yvette Monreal, who was kind of the popular girl at school. She was moving up through the ranks until risque photos that she had sent to someone she thought was a friend get circulated out, and she becomes a social pariah both at school and at home with her strict parents. You got Beth Chappelle, who becomes the new Doctor Midnight, played by Angelica Washington, who is one of those people who kind of talks a lot and has endless. She's endlessly optimistic as well. I mean, she's a bit more reserved in terms of Courtney, but you know what? She's chatty and she's fun. You know what? That works. She also seems to form quite a friendship with the original Doctor Midnight, Charles McNider, or an AI recreation of him that's within his goggles. And you've also got Rick Tyler, the new Hour Man, who his father was Hour Man. He's played by Cameron Gelman, and his parents were killed by a creature called Solomon Grundy. And he is given by Courtney an hourglass that belonged to his father that once he tips it over, it gives him super strength for 1 hour a day. And he plays it really well. Now, of course, the big thing they have to go up against is the Injustice Society of America. And those consist of, for the most part, Icicle, Brainwave, Dragon King, Sportsmaster, Tigress, and the Gambler. But there are also references to past members like the Wizard, the Fiddler, and the Shade, and of course their big kind of muscle of the team, Solomon Grundy, who while I've yet to see a perfect recreation of him on screen, I do feel they used Solomon Grundy a lot better than Arrow ended up using him. Arrow ended up using him in the second season of Arrow, back in 2013 it would have been, and I feel he was okay there, but he was mostly just a guy they pumped full of a serum that made him super strong. This guy actually seemed monstrous. Now, with each of the kind of DC TV series, I've usually found at least one actor who I recognise, and I can usually kind of pin something down on. For example, in Arrow, one actor who I ended up recognising from other projects was John Barrowman as Malcolm Merlyn. For Legends of Tomorrow, it was Arthur Darvill as Rip Hunter. For Supergirl, it was David Harewood. Now, surprisingly, the two actors who I ended up recognising from other things in this were Neil Jackson, who plays Jordan Mackent, i.e. the Icicle, who I recognised from the 2009 to 2012 series Make It or Break It, which was kind of set around a group of athletes or gymnasts trying to get ready for the 2012 Olympics. So it was nice to see him again. And the actor who they ultimately choose to play Starman, Sylvester Pendleton, is Joel McHale, who, while I haven't expressly seen anything that he is in, I do know that he was in Community, which I have seen bits and pieces of. So yeah, once it once again, they do some great stuff with these characters. I mean, Meg DeLacy as Cindy Berman, that's Shiv. She is just one of those characters that you love to hate her. I mean, you see her hating on the main characters, and you're just like, eventually, I just want to punch your face in. And she is just a great character to watch. I mean, even her battles with Courtney, either physical or mental, like when Courtney is eventually injured and Cindy comes around to her house with a box of chocolates. It's just like, you could feel the tension in the room. You could cut it with a butter knife. Great. I do hope that at some point, with this show having been broadcast on the CW, that eventually they do get a crossover with the main Arrowverse. I mean, this is supposedly taking place on the new Earth 2, and I do hope at some point they get to go over to the main Earth Prime Arrowverse. Now, my only hesitation about this is that the Arrowverse have already used quite a few of the characters and elements within this. I mean, almost every member of the new Justice Society of America have already been used. I mean, they've used Hourman, they've used Dr. Midnight, they've used Wildcat, and they've used Stargirl herself. They've also used Icicle, with him being Caitlyn's father in the last series of The Flash. And I kind of feel a little bit hesitant about. I mean, I would love for them to meet up. I mean, I'd especially like if Nate Haywood from Legends got to meet up with these guys. I can see him working well with every member of the new JSA except for possibly Courtney, mainly because Courtney was also a member of the Justice Society in the 40s in the Legends of Tomorrow, so I feel he may act a little bit weird around her. But once again, also the characters' children also play a really good role here too. I mean, most of them, like the ones of the Fiddler and the Wizard, are mostly kind of unaware of what their parents did. You've of course got Cindy, who's the daughter of Dragon King, and she's constantly trying to gain approval and actually gain a seat in the Injustice Society. And then you've also got Brainwave's son, who he is developing burgeoning abilities, and he seems kind of distant, and even as one of the reasons why Yolanda became a social outcast. But then he kind of goes through a redemption arc, which I really, really like. And towards the end, he actually starts to try and help Courtney and the others to find a way to defeat the Injustice Society, and eventually ends up getting killed for it. But I really like that they went with a redemption arc for it. Now, the Injustice Society's plan is to unleash a wave that will cause a kind of brain spasm in people that will conform them to a new set of ideals, that will help stop global warming, set up more wind farms for clean electricity, eventually destroy kind of inequality and racism and sexism and everything. And even the heroes, when they hear about this, they're like, are we on the right side here? But it's a wave that will affect 100 million people, yet 25 million people will fight back against it and will ultimately be killed by it. And it's just like, they're trying to do the right thing, but they're doing so the wrong way. And you know what? That's what any great villain can do. Can convince themselves they're doing things right, but ultimately end up doing it wrong. And that's what makes this such a great, compelling series. So, Stargirl overall, I missed it the first time around, but I'm glad I caught up with it, and it is a show I really love, and I hope it does continue. I also does hope it gets to cross over at some point with the Earth Prime Arrowverse, but until then, it's still a great show nonetheless. So, Stargirl Season 1, if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Anyway, until next time, see ya.